What's something people don't know about the vastness of space? It's not just stars and planets, it's a playground for the HUSTLEMAN 3.0. Our hero, the HUSTLEMAN 3.0, jumps into his sleek skyjet from the hit movie Valerian. His mission? To unlock a classified content that will guide him to the farthest reaches of our solar system. Through asteroid belts, past mysterious moons and into the unknown depths, every twist and turn, every high-speed chase pushes the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 further into uncharted territory. He's not just exploring, he's on a quest for the ultimate treasure trove of secrets, and he needs your help to keep going. Like, comment and subscribe to join the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 on this epic journey. Together, we'll boldly go where no man has gone before. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. The best is yet to come.
Alright. Whizzed through a lot of stuff really fast there, so let's try to break this down into chunks. First of all, yes, I've heard about people having titanium rod in their leg, titanium bolts holding their bones together, that kind of thing. But are we talking about something that can be introduced into a healthy living adult, or are we talking about something that has to be sort of manufactured in conjunction with biological tissue as it grows, like a
Correct.
Designer being?
That's correct. It used to be, let's just reinforce this, this person, see what happens, which is a very, it's surgical. It's a very brutal type thing. But now, with the advent of 3D printing organs and tissues, and all I need is a piece of your DNA, and I can 3D print you, over 9 months and have you, your body and your everything. Even you will recoup a lot of your memory because it's stored in the DNA. Wow. So what I'm getting at is, what if I put the titanium already into the vat and 3D printed you over the titanium with all the articulate cartilage and made a program, and I could program, like you said, the kind of soldier I want.
So you're growing it life adult size from the beginning.
Correct.
Oh, shit. All right, we just coming in right now. Hit that like button. We got it right in. All right. Super soldiers, let's go.
Okay, so Medusa is a paramilitary unit of the CIA, a task force of 7 agents that have their own specializations and abilities.
Correct. There have been Hollywood movies made about them. How ironic, right? Their biological and mental capabilities have been enhanced using advanced science and technology. Medusa is the unit that gets called when the government wants no trace leading back to them, and when they need a guaranteed mission success rate. They operate under Title 50, which gives them the ability to perform operations around the world with complete immunity. This specialized team is deployed in highly sensitive operations where conventional tactics are inadequate. I've heard rumors that one Medusa member is equivalent to about 1,000 standard soldiers. Did I mention that these operators, or whatever you want to call them, were made in a lab?
In a laboratory?
Seriously, I can't make this up. These soldiers were genetically engineered, their DNA structured so that they're smarter, stronger, faster, and possess abilities that you would see in the movies.
Wait, so like what kind of abilities are we talking about here, bro? Are you sure this is real?
Do you think the United States has super soldiers?
It's not a question of if the United States has super soldiers. It's more a matter of who has them. The country as a whole? No. That's a broad and misleading assumption. But government contractors? Absolutely. Behind closed doors, where the light of accountability rarely shines, there are black budget programs that make Hollywood sci-fi look like child's play. These programs are not just hidden. They're buried deep beneath layers of bureaucracy and secrecy, far removed from the public eye. These operations have access to technology that is centuries.
That's crazy. Y'all hear this? We diving in.
Centuries ahead of anything known to the public, and their first priority is always its weaponization. This tech isn't just advanced, it's the stuff of legends, reverse engineered from extraterrestrial artifacts recovered in shadowy corners of the world. Imagine machines that could bend reality, cloaking devices that render entire battalions invisible, or biological enhancements that make a soldier faster, stronger, and nearly impossible to kill. There are soldiers, some biological, others not, who are standing by, waiting to be activated when the time comes. They're the hidden blade in the hand of those who control these clandestine programs, waiting for an outside or even inside threat to justify their use.
That's crazy. Y'all hear this
There
shit?
is a 3-day, they do everything in threes. 3 is very important because 3 is the Trinity. It's the most powerful figure because of its strength, because of its strength. A pyramid or a triangle is the most sturdy, powerful. The power of 3 is the most powerful. Okay, so there is a genuine attempt to pull this deity Baal into. They're using New York and they're using London. London is going to be the new Babylon. If you look at it, it's Babylon done. Okay, so.
Yo, I said it in my last video that the information we getting right now is that the aliens or the extraterrestrials are going to reveal themselves in the UK first on national television. That's what we're getting.
You have London going to be the new center of power. Even though it has been for a long time, it's going to be...
Wow, he's getting to it.
...overtly an open center of power of the planet. So, a little secret here. So you have the two lines that came out of the Garden of Eden. You have the Cain line and the Abel line. Cain and Abel line. What we've been taught, once again they did a reversal, because this is what they do. Once again they did a reversal. They told us that Cain was the bad and that Abel was the good. Okay? But
right.
Abel is an anagram. And if you just switch the letters around from Abel, you'll get Baal. Just switching over slightly. So Facebook, the symbol for Facebook. I wish I had it up there. I could show you.
Wszyscy znamy symbol Facebooka.
Okay, so it's an F and then 2 like this. Symbol for Facebook. This symbol is called Tubal Cain. I talk to you about that.
Wow.
Tubal Cain. It is about the two ball there on either side of the F on the Facebook is about controlling the male and controlling the Cain is a phallus or male energy. The 2 circles on either side are to control the male energy.
He's tripping me out. He's not even speaking.
The upside to having O negative blood or rhesus negative blood is that it absorbs a much higher amount of oxygen into it. So the body allows far more oxygen into the blood. Okay. So for example, if you were a runner or if you were a fighter or if you did anything physical, your endurance would be longer and you would be more explosive. The downside to having rhesus negative blood is that they run out of steam very quickly. They have to stop and they have to regroup and then go again. The O positive blood has a much longer endurance. It's not explosive. So if you had an army of rhesus negative an army of rhesus negative, then they would be excellent in a very short term. They could destroy something that's necessary very, very quickly. It's just that only lasts for a very short period of time. They're very explosive, but then they burn out quickly.
So you'd use them hit hard,
and then pull out, and then use your endurance. Yes. But they do hit harder than any other of the bloodstreams, and they do. And then there's the nature of the blue blood, because the oxygen into the blood, then it's a higher copper content. Thus, when oxygen hits the blood, it turns a slightly bluish color.
Wow.
What is the Black Awakening?
It's related to the Red Horse prophecy in Revelation. It's related to 2 Thessalonians 2, when it says about the day of the Lord, the parousia. That day will not occur until the apocalypse of the Antichrist and the apostasia, the word rebellion or revolt. That's all really defined in the prophecy of the Red Horse. But here's where the term came from and why I used it purposely. When I started dealing with ritually abused individuals, and then we dealt with military-oriented, highly trained, programmed shooters and assassins inside of them. When we began to deal with them, I dealt with someone from Fort Bragg for quite a while and a few others. We're sitting in a lake, Conneaut Lake. They reached over and ripped open my shirt to see if I was wired, if I was wiring and recording them. And they were the most sophisticated satanic warrior type person They knew 5-6 languages. They knew the ancient Twilight languages. They knew how to conjure. They knew how to use Belteshazzar, Okwam, all these old Pictish languages of the Druids to summon. They are the real Luciferian. They've been through many human sacrificial things. So they sat there to tell me some of those things,
Crazy.
what they've been involved with, how they sacrifice a human. I'm listening to all this stuff from them. And then they said to me, you have no idea, Russ, how many of us there are out there. How many satanic...
That's crazy.
When I started dealing with ritually abused individuals, then we dealt with military-oriented, highly trained, programmed shooters and assassins inside of them. When we began to deal with them, I dealt with someone from Fort Bragg for quite a while and a few others. We were sitting in a lake, Conneaut Lake. They reached over and ripped open my shirt to see if I was wired, if I was wiring.
They've got humanoids. I believe this. They've already used CRISPR to enhance children
with higher intelligence.
Yes.
In China.
Well, it was actually...
Was it because they could actually read your mind, or was it because they had these high-grade animal instincts? They could literally see the mannerisms change, your vibe, your aura, even your smell. It's hard to say for sure, but they did scrub the program because of this. They literally began fearing them. If you think about it, guys, Chimera date back to biblical days, even before that, the ancient Egyptian days. And I truly believe that they date back possibly hundreds of thousands of years.
Here's two instances of what looks to be super soldiers caught on camera. This first one is from 2014 from the Ferguson riots.
All right, let's get into
where
it.
Video was captured of what looks to be a soldier double the size of the other soldiers he's standing around. The other instance is from North Korea during a parade that they do with their military equipment through the streets, and we see with the other soldiers, one standing who looks to be double the height of the other ones around. Since the very first time that two groups of people started warring against each other, armies were looking for ways to create super soldiers, from the giant Goliath of the Philistines through the Nazis' attempt to create super soldiers through the Vril Society. What's actually going on with cloning and genetic manipulation in facilities to create super soldiers is beyond what we even know.
Wow. These super soldiers is real,
Randy,
y'all.
for those people that don't know you, let's give a brief history about what you did in the military space program.
Sure. Well, I'm a captain, United States Marine Corps Special Section, which is the covert military space program arm of the Marine Corps, which was formed in about the 1954 timeframe by President Dwight D. Eisenhower as response to his lack of cooperation that he was getting from the MJ-12 committee. So in the late 1960s, they were developing a augmented soldier program to build soldiers genetically from the ground up, which I was in a program in the late 1960s called Project Moonshadow. So I was genetically engineered from the ground up, tinkered with some extraterrestrial hybridized DNA to, be smarter, faster, stronger for soldiering abilities. Was trained as a toddler through adolescence, teenage years, deployed when I was 17 years old for a 20-year tour of duty where I spent a little over 17 years in the MDF, which is the Mars Defense Force, which is a contracting agency that works for the Mars Colony Corporation, which is under the umbrella of the ICC, or the International Corporate Conglomerate. I was in the infantry there on the ground, mostly scuffling with indigenous reptoids and indigenous insectoids territorially, mostly really to test military equipment. And then at the end of that period, I was given a promotion, got to go to flight school, and finished out my 20-year tour as a pilot.
Y'all hear that shit?
Aboard the
Crazy.
SS Nautilus, which stands for Earth Defense Force Starship Nautilus, which is basically an aircraft carrier in space, patrolling the solar system to keep, interlopers out.
Crazy. You heard that?
I went to the SEAL teams when I was 18. As a little boy, I wanted to be a SEAL, 5 years old, and it was basically one of my dreams that was realized. I became a hard hat diver when I first went in, and then I went into the SEAL teams at 21. I went through Hell Week at 21, and then from then on, I went into SEAL Team 12, SEAL Team 5, SEAL Team 11, SEAL Team 6. So you're handpicked for SEAL Team 6. It's like the premier SEAL team. And in SEAL Team 6, I had combat experience at Panama. So lots of experience as a SEAL. I started a hand-to-hand program for Navy SEAL teams, climbing courses, diving courses, lots of experience. Always wanted to be a SEAL as a little kid, and also wanted to be in the CIA.
You see how they actually wait till they get mad old before they start releasing that information? Because they don't want to take it with them to the grave, you know what I'm saying? Wait, salute.
I love James Bond movies and so forth, so I eventually went into the CIA shortly after leaving the SEAL teams. I was a hunter for terrorists for 11 years, found lots of high-level terrorists, one of those being Osama bin Laden. My intuitive skills started to become very activated.
It's a real super soldier right here, yo.
When I was in the CIA, I'd always had them to a certain extent, even as a little kid, but they really started to take off. Remote viewing, remote influencing, and so forth. Even as a kid, I wanted to join the military. 5 years old, I saw this movie called The Frogman, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
I remember that movie.
And I was just so enamored of swimmers and swimming and frog.
Yo, those Marines, bro, are really, really tough, bro. Marines is special, bro.
And stuff like that. I thought it was like
the Navy guys, too. Straight up. Them dudes, they special, bro, for real. Straight up.
Went in and became a frogman. My grandfather was military, but he was the only one. He was in World War II. He was on a ship that was sank.
That's how it be. It runs in the family. Most of these dudes definitely had like uncles, fathers, you know what I mean? That was in the joint.
Actually, a minesweeper off of Italy, and he has had some injuries from that. But other than that, he was the only one in my family that was military. I was in the military for 24 years. During that time frame, I think it was some of the best times.
Some of us
my
been
life.
in
I
the
was
street
living
that
my
long.
dream.
It's crazy.
It was very hard to become a Navy SEAL, but when I became a Navy SEAL, all of the things that I'd dreamed of doing, jumping out of planes, blowing stuff up, shooting, all of those things, I got to do on an unbelievable level. I always thought that the CIA was patriotic. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go into it, because I felt that they were really the cutting edge of keeping America safe. Now, unfortunately, once I was in the military, in the CIA for many years, I started to see that they have nefarious goings on. They do weapons trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking. I got to see all that behind the scenes.
There you go. He's disclosing everything right there.
It is because they are trying to maintain.
Let me see this guy. Let's go.
History.
Matter of fact, let's see if he saw anything different.
My intuitive skills started to...
We've seen that.
History of the secret space program. Hulk Super Soldier program.
Easy. This guy right here, he's someone that was there, that worked with the ETs. You hear his testimony. If this is not the closest we gonna get to somebody physically saying that they was there, then I don't know what we looking for.
Could you?
For real. Because this guy was there. Real talk. Real talk.
I was given diplomatic immunity in my teens. I killed my first man when I was 16 years old.
Uh-oh, we getting deep, gang.
I mean, you all know my history. So you'll say you don't, okay? I was raised in a Jesuit orphanage in Canada, 76 there to 1979. I've been involved with Opus Dei heavily.
This sounds like one of those one of them kids that was age regressed. Wait up, check this out.
Involved with the Vatican. I was indoctrinated into MI6.
It's called 20 and Back. Yep, the 20 and Back program, yo. Yep, shout out to Cheryl for that.
SIS at 5 years old. You know, I settled into England in the early 80s with a foster family. That's the Casbolt family. I was indoctrinated into that. I started...
Uh-oh, this is where it's gonna turn left. Watch it.
Live operations in my teens. And that was under the cover of drug wars in London and in areas like Brighton. I was given diplomatic immunity in my teens.
Oh, this guy's a killer.
I killed my first man when I was 16 years old in Brighton. That was
James Casbolt, that's his name. Do the research, y'all.
the child porn ring that was being run there. The guy involved in that, and I shot him outside a place called the Sharp Bar on the Brighton seafront in broad daylight in front of multiple witnesses. I've got Over 200 confirmed kills since.
Oh shit, he's a killer 200 times.
Since I was a teenager.
He's a super soldier, y'all. He's been age regressed. They wiped his memories and took his mind. Look at his face. Look at him, gang. It's crazy. They took his mind.
Each one of these.
They took his mind, gang. They took his mind.
Using Britney Spears triggered like that. They started using that for spies and assassins because you can't torture somebody out of information that they don't know because it's not in that alter. If you traumatize a human being, they know exactly the levels to do it at. Then the brain creates an amnesiac barrier around it. And then
Oh, shit.
you are then able to go inside there, program a new person to do anything. To do absolutely anything, and then you can bring them back to their original state. The other altar is not aware of any way of the other altar. A great number of them that can be done.
13 cubed.
That's right. That's right. So I think that would be something like 6,000.
2,900 something.
2,000. Okay, right. There you go. That's a lot. They started using that for spies and assassins.
Yup. MK Ultra, yup.
You can't torture somebody out of information that they don't know because it's not in that altar.
So it means that some.
Crazy, they both.
And look what happened in his life. So, but when a believer does have some kind of attachment, something or whatever else, and they realize or whatever, they were deeply into something, and then they come to the Lord, but yet, something they didn't close the door on. I believe in what some people call auto deliverance, to where, hey, well, if you know your authority, I even believe that if you all of a sudden a believer realizes something's here and it shouldn't be because I'm a believer now, Jesus deliver me. Just going to the Lord, that can happen. Because it's not, He wants everything cleared out anyway. So you can have a deliverance that way, or if you're a believer, say, well, I know my authority, and but know the legal right, know the reason why.
I'm waiting for him to get to the source. Now stop playing now.
Why it's there. It's so that you can renounce that doorway or that practice and say, never again, you have no rights here.
It's something demonic.
So the issue is, if you've been raised in a family of psychics or voodoo practitioners, so even if you're raised in some stuff, or if you open the doors, you're just going to go out and do, smoke up and do acid, you get in that world, those kind of doorways can open little by little by little.
Right.
So I think some are more vulnerable depending on what's around them. If their moms or dads were witches or Satanists and things.
Right.
And they've never repented, and so the spirits want to come down to the next generation.
Oh.
So even that is an extra pressure when a son or daughter, they didn't do anything, but because mom and dad opened the doors, they want to come down that family line and go after. So a son or daughter, or even a grandchild, may have more undue pressure.
So are generational curses real?
Yeah, I believe they're real, and they're called familiar spirits in the Old Testament, meaning they're familiar in the family line or familiar with an area. So if my grandfather was a Satanist and he was really a practitioner, first, when he died, he would want to do a ritual to hand it all down, all those powers down, to somehow. But if he doesn't, and the spirits come out, or even their spirits are on him, they're always looking for more access. And they want, like in the Old Testament, they want the whole tribe. They not only want the grandpa or the dad, they want the family, then they want the tribe. That's why the whole tribes were infested. They want everything. So they're going to go after, if a dad or mom or grandmother or grandfather
That's crazy.
open those big doors.
Now I get it.
It gives that spirit even, because, well, either way, they're just going to come after to bring influence. Doesn't mean a grandson or granddaughter is going to be automatically influenced or taken over, or they're going to become a Satanist or a witch. But there's undue influence because of the moms and dads, or
it's generational,
or anybody else. You could be in a dormitory at college, and you got a guy that's deeply into something, voodoo and practicing spirits and whatever, and you're in the same room. You're going to have problems. You could be vulnerable to attack. Vulnerable to influence, to open a gateway to let them in. So in that sense, you can be more vulnerable.
That's crazy.
This is why you need to join the HUSTLEMAN 3.0. He's not just exploring space, he's unlocking its deepest secrets. Armed with his sleek skyjet from the hit movie Valerian, the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 is on a mission to uncover the truth of our solar system. Picture this, soaring through asteroid belts, skimming past mysterious moons, and diving into the unknown depths of space. It's not just about the journey, it's about the discoveries along the way. Every twist, every turn, every live show, upload, and short pushes the Hustleman 3.0 further into uncharted territory. And guess what? He needs your help to keep going. Like, comment, and subscribe to join the Hustleman 3.0 on his epic journey. Together, we'll boldly go where no man has gone before. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. The best is yet to come.
That's a fact. Let's go.
I was taken when I was 2 years old in 1970, and I spent a total of 60 years in the program.
Told y'all.
And I know that's kind of initially difficult to grasp as far as concept is concerned, but when you understand the technology that many of the world's nations have now, they can actually transfer timelines. And you can take you forward or backward in time. And that's what they did. So I spent 60 years and I was sent back.
Crazy.
In 1970, basically there was no loss of time whatsoever. And I was returned back at that time in a new cloned body that was 2 years old. Basically, it's as if I'd never left. So in the future, everything is disclosed. Everybody knows about all the different races that are out. The many thousands of races that are actually in space and that actually have interaction with Earth itself in some form or fashion, whether that's through a confederation or federation, which we have several in our solar system. And everybody knows about it in the future, and it's not that far away. Part of what I'm not allowed to reveal at this point in time is details in the future, because I can't affect the future too much, and also because I haven't specifically worked on retrieving those memories because of that reason.
Yep.
I do know that there is some conflict, and
sorry everyone, the YouTube AI has been programmed.
Shit. You seen that? Yo.
Navy to begin randomly testing SEALs and Special Force troops for steroids. So even as a big supporter of staying natural and natural bodybuilding, I think this is pretty ridiculous. And I don't know a ton about the Special Forces, but what I've been told from people on the inside is that everybody is juicing. And I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, your job is to be the best soldier you can possibly be. And that means being incredibly strong, having incredible endurance, and being incredibly resilient.
So I love the military. My family is all in the military. A lot of them are Air Force. I live in San Diego. We have like 7 bases here. I have a lot of military friends. And the word on the street, the rumors, if you will, is that a lot of military guys are taking gear. And why wouldn't you? The epitome of taking gear. We made a movie about this. We took a little guy, we gave him some juice, some super soldier serum. He came out super jacked, was great. It seemed like a win-win for everyone. Now, we want our soldiers to be the best in the world. We want them to be resilient and be able to endure the absolute most. We should not be testing them and banning them from doing gear. We should be monitoring them and helping them do it correctly so they can be the best they can be. You might think, well, that costs extra money. Yeah, well, it's not more than the billions and billions of dollars we're sending to Ukraine. To be honest, gear and blood work is not that expensive. This whole Navy testing thing is like we are trying to sabotage ourselves and make our military worse. But that's what's happening in all the United States right now. So the shoe fits.
That's crazy.
These are the 3 most powerful super soldiers ever. At third, Sentry's power is immense. With abilities like super strength, reality warping, and matter manipulation, he's been shown to have the power of 1 million exploding suns and can rival Thanos. When Sentry is mentally stable, his power is virtually omnipotent, and he can destroy the universe. At second, Blue Marvel has abilities including complete control over energy and antimatter. He once knocked the Sentry into the sun's orbit with 1 punch, has laid out the Hulk with ease. At his peak, he could rival the power of Worldbreaker Hulk and Superman Prime. At first, with the ability to manipulate conception and absorb unlimited amounts of energy, this soldier has a multi-dimensional control of time and reality. Captain Atom from DC is so strong that he has killed multiple versions of Superman with ease.
The Super Soldier Part 1.
Takes it out, throws it out of a window, and starts wearing an eye patch. The first battle that he's in, when he rejoins the army in World War I, a piece of shrapnel explodes his hand, and all that's left are 2 fingers hanging on by the skin of the palm of his hand, and his wrist actually embeds itself in his arm.
That's super soldier shit.
So this is the first thing that he's encountered. Again, goes to the field hospital. The doctor declines to amputate the fingers, so he just rips them off in front of him because he's in so much pain. The arm then has to be amputated. So he says to the guys again, I want to be redeployed. They're like, you are now a one-eyed amputee. I want to be deployed. Battle of the Somme, his next battle that he goes into.
Crazy.
Reports from other soldiers seeing Patton Duarte running into battle, pulling the pins out of grenades with his teeth, throwing them at the enemy, and reloading a revolver with one hand. So this guy is a single-armed killer. During that, he gets shot he gets shot through the back of the head. Through the head. Doesn't die. In subsequent battles, he got promoted for 24 hours.
You hear this
before
shit?
He threatened to punch his superior and then got demoted again. So he's just like this totally wild dude. Anyway, he goes through this series of difficult military exposés. He takes over 3 squadrons who don't have a commanding officer. None of them have any communication. So he, this one-armed, one-eyed guy, decides to run back and forth between the 3 different companies.
These are the 3 most powerful super soldiers ever. At third, Sentry's power is immense, with abilities like super strength, reality warping, and matter manipulation. He's been shown to have the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns and can rival Thanos. When Sentry is mentally stable, his power is virtually omnipotent, and he can destroy the universe. At second, Blue Marvel has abilities including complete control over energy and antimatter. He once knocked the Sentry into the sun's orbit with one punch.
For those of you who needed to hear this, when you're going through the Super Soldier program, I know you think the better you do, and as you're outdoing the others, you think that you're going to be rewarded. But all it really does is makes you continue the program. So, you know, your missions are going to get more, they're going to elevate. So, you know, it's up to you if you can wake up in your dreams and you're able to, you want to like realize, you know, you don't want to do better, because when you wake up, of course, things are going to get tougher. When you go to sleep, you're going to be going to different solar systems, and just the missions to get more intense. I'm trying to stay on topic because easily I want to just shift conversation, but
Oh, he's having a mental problem.
A Super Saiyan soldier has just escaped from a prison at Area 51, and something terrible has happened. Just a few months ago, NASA, in partnership with the U.S. Army, secretly worked on an ancient project aimed at creating a troop of super soldiers. For a considerable time, they kept a group of unconscious subjects in capsules at Area 51, capsules that would manipulate their physical and mental strengths. It was during this phase of the experiment that something bizarre happened. Donovan Williams, one of the soldier subjects, overcome by extreme fury, awakened and fled the laboratory, destroying much of the facility, which brought severe concerns to all of America and the world. Since then, days of relentless searching were initiated until Donovan's whereabouts were finally found in Arizona, Colorado. The entire population saw the magnitude of power that was upon Donovan before he was captured and taken back to Area 51. See the images of the capture by clicking on the share icon and more.
That's crazy.
History fact check. Did Joseph Stalin attempt to genetically breed ape-men hybrid super soldiers for world domination? According to an article in The Scotsman, Stalin told the scientist Ilya Ivanov, who specialized in artificial insemination and the hybridization of animals, that he wanted to create a new invincible human being insensitive to pain, resistant and indifferent.
Telling you, yo, these movies be telling us something. Stay sharp.
About the quality of food they ate. In the 1920s, the Bolshevik government even funded an experiment conducted by Ivanov that took place in French Guinea, in which the mad scientist inseminated 3 female chimpanzees with human sperm, but they failed to create a pregnancy. Then again, in 1929, he attempted to inseminate 5 human volunteers, but due to the death of his last remaining primates, this experiment also failed. For his lack of scientific ethics and his failures, he was sentenced to 5 years in jail and exiled to Kazakhstan. Under closer examination, there is no concrete evidence to support that Stalin directly made any statements surrounding 8-men super warriors. And although artificial insemination experiments did take place, Stalin's 8-men super warrior myth can be dismissed. History fact check. Did Joseph Stalin attempt to genetically breed 8-men hybrid super...
That was crazy. Hold on. Let's dive in.
Breaking down the Great Awakening map, secret space program, and the 20 and back time travel program as well.
How did this secret space program steal your mind?
Well, what happened was they had a military guy came and they gave us a calisthenic program. They wanted to keep us in shape. Right. And in the mornings we had a pill cup that we took, and then we did calisthenics out on the deck, or in the wintertime we were in the lower basement room. Eventually one day they changed the pills, and I was sick. I'm allergic, in my real life I'm allergic to codeine greatly. And so it must have been a codeine pill in there. And by the first day I got sick from it. And by the 3rd day, as soon as I took the pill, I was vomiting right then and there. And they said, if he can't get used to these new pills, he's going to have to go to the military. And that's exactly what happened.
And that's when you joined the secret space program.
Oh, shit. That's crazy.
I was taken to the moon base. I woke up on a base, your standard TR-3B in lower triangular, landed on the runway. A staircase went up to it, and there was 80 people, 100 people that boarded it, and we walked on it, and we sat down there. It was just like the inside of an airplane, but there were wide rows, 20, 30 seats wide, and we took off. And when we got close to the moon, the wall on the right-hand side of the craft went transparent, and the pilot came over the intercom, just like in a airplane flight, when you're flying across, if you look to the right is the Grand Canyon. Right. He did that. He said, here's a base. He said something like, there's the one of our bases. If you look, you can see it. I couldn't see it where I was sitting. But when we went to the next base where we were going, my wall on my side of the craft went transparent, and we could see it. He said that the Pentagon was designed so robustly that they saved money in this base by using the same blueprints. But it was basically looked just like the Pentagon. And then the wall, went in, and we landed and docked and went in.
Imagine this. You've just been recruited into a secret government program. You are told that you're now a part of an elite group of people, and your fight is not with the forces on Earth. You endure months of grueling training, wondering what that last statement even meant. It is only when you're given your orders for your first mission, you realize your mission is Mars.
I was in Project Pegasus as a schoolboy. Roughly, my first experiences were at age 6, and then I was dropped officially in Project Pegasus at age 7, turning age 8 in September of 1969, and I was in it for 3 years to the end of the summer of 1972, but I actually had about 4 years of experience during those 3 years, because I spent 3 major time loops where I was staying in New Mexico during the summer and then being teleported not just back to New Jersey, but so as to arrive on the day that I left. I left the project on my alpha timeline in real time at the end of the summer of 72. I was trained for a jump room program that took place from roughly 1981 to 1983. Our training was at College of the Siskiyous in Lee, California. And among my fellow students during that 3-week training program was a young man attending Occidental College named Barry Soetoro, who now is known as Barack Obama and is serving as the 44th President of the United States. The woman that he appointed the first female director and the 19th director of DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, Gina Dugan, who's one of our classmates, as well as one of the whistleblowers who stepped forward. William B. Stillings was in that class, as was the late space shuttle astronaut, William Cameron Cool, the guy tragically was serving as the pilot of the space shuttle Columbia upon its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere on February 1st of 2003. So those were in addition to myself, those were the 5 of the 10 Mars trainees who Brett Stillings and I can confirm were in our training class. The individual going by the name of Barry Soetoro and also Richard Dugan and I, during those 3 weeks, towards the end of those 3 weeks, we were involved in 3 months of study there at the college that was effectuated by having us teleport to the beginning of the summer work there on a threat assessment regarding the Martian humanoid civilization. We were given about a 4-inch dossier of secret things about the indigenous humanoid civilization on Mars, and each of us was asked to draft a thesis giving our opinion based on the evidence of the Martian, whether or not the Martian humanoid civilization presented a threat to human civilization on Earth. And during those 3 months, I had a chance to get to know Barry better. We roomed together for a while. He was a very taciturn young man. I found it very difficult to get him to say anything. He was kind of shy. He was clearly very bright. He tended to just kind of respond with a few words and laugh at what he said. He kept his cards very close to the vest. But he was a bright and very likable young man. Certainly all of us in the program enjoyed his fellowship very much. We were in the program together, his friendship. And we all got along really famously, almost like you do in college, and you have your friends in college. We all kind of really gelled. So I'm speaking out now because he was involved in this secrets program, and I think that the time for secrecy regarding these projects has ended. And so I have to be truthful that, as preposterous as it sounds, it's some fact in the jump room program. And in fact, Brett Stillings has corroborated that.
Because you mentioned that, you are going into Mars in this program, and from my understanding, you guys would step through these almost, correct me if I'm wrong here, these elevator-like contraptions, or these doors that would kind of open up.
In fact, it was not just an elevator-like contraption. The jump room to Mars that we used was an elevator in a corporate office building in El Segundo, California, that had a dual use. And it was at 999 North Sepulveda, which was then owned or operated by Hughes Aircraft. And the elevator would go up to the 5th floor from the ground level. And we would check in a kind of Ephesian suite there. There was sort of a marble counter, and give our name, first and last, our date of birth, our social security number, and our federal ID number, which was sort of a secret serial number that we had. I actually still remember mine. I won't say what it is on the air, but I actually still remember that number. It was a 9-digit number. And then we would sign the book and step back into the elevator, go up to the 8th floor. The elevator then would move horizontally across the 8th floor, where there's a kind of a pod that you can see at the back of 999 North Sepulveda in Southern California. It's sort of an extension at the back of the building. And we would be communicated with by a sort of a telephone as to whether we were ready to go or not. And when we were, we would say yes, and the lights would start flashing at the bottom and top of the elevator. And it would morph into a cylinder. The box-like structure would begin morphing, slowly turning into a cylinder. The ceiling would migrate to the side, and you would see the swirling pattern at the end of the cylinder. And that would last for about 10 minutes or so. We would feel pressure, the kind of pressure that you might experience at about 40 feet underwater. That's about 2 atmospheres of pressure. And then it would start correcting itself back into the box-like form of the elevator. And about 5 minutes later, the door would open, and we were in an underground facility on what we had been trained was Mars. Now, since I've come forward publicly, the individual who investigated the Mars project for the CIA has contacted me, and he has informed me that he found during his investigation that we were not visiting Mars in real time, but the synthetic quantum environments that architected by the gray ETs that the U.S. astronauts call slots. They're basically folds in the fabric of time-space where extraterrestrials have sort of engineered synthetic environments. For example, how Mars might have been a million years ago.
Oh, shit.
With Bernie and Regina and another one of the women on the project. But basically, Bernie stated that he concluded forensically, when he was investigating the project when we were on it, that we were not visiting Mars, but a kind of recapitulation of Mars that the gray ETs had designed in kind of a solid-state device. And that begs the question of really...
Those are holodecks.
May have been left the jump rooms from the graves.
Only known to a select group of people on Earth, Mars has actually already been colonized, and your mission was to defend it from hostile Martians. You spend the next 19 years of your life fighting to defend humanity on Mars.
Today we have a special guest. His name is Jason Rice, and he claims to have been in the secret space program.
That program is based on the use of advanced technology where you provide service for 20 years, and at the end of that service, you are medically and quantum age regression back to the time point where you originally entered into service, and then they take you back in time to the point in time that you originally went into service, but you still lived out and had those 20 years of service that you provided in whatever program. And there's a number of secret space programs that utilize this technology.
Eventually your time is up, and you get called into the director's office, handing you your discharge papers. Suddenly 2 armed officers restrain you, and a syringe of God knows what is injected into your neck. Next thing you know, you wake up, and you're 16 again, with a throbbing headache. You can remember everything vividly, but reality tells you that you were just dreaming, even though no one believes you.
And there were guys in a van that gave me an injection, and I went out, and I woke up, I was not on the Earth anymore. They got to the point where they would give us, they would give me an IV, with a bag of whatever, and then put a drug in there, and I would lose consciousness. And when I woke up, people were freaked out by stuff I said. My age in that time, I was 20 and back, probably from my age of 12 or 13 till about 16.
Breaking down the Great Awakening map.
You've said you've done 20 and back journeys where you go away for over 20 years and you come back.
Yep, trademark.
And back.
Yep, trademark.
And dramatization, or is it real?
Part of it's real, part of it's dramatization. Well, that
20 and back itself is my creation. Oh, is my creation. Oh, is my creation. Back, no, trademark. I created all of this. Back, no, trademark. What does it matter if it's real?
Let's talk about the 20 and back program.
Our spirit and/or consciousness is a quantum fluid dynamic, and being a quantum fluid dynamic means that it can be removed and put from vessel to vessel. They hatch out a clone body. The previous body that I had basically, was on a table. They had the fresh one on another table, transferred the consciousness from one, and then took my old body and stuck it in the incinerator.
I'm looking at the clone.
Yes, I actually have a micro walkie-talkie in the back of my skull.
Yo, weird.
Let's talk about the 20 and back program.
Our spirit and/or consciousness is a quantum fluid dynamic.
How did this secret space program steal your mind? Imagine this. You've just been recruited into a secret government program. You are told that you're now a part of an elite group of people, and your fight is not with the forces on Earth. You endure months of grueling training, wondering what that last statement even meant. It is only when you're given your orders for your first mission, you realize.
So what we had you do was take a polygraph test from a polygraph examiner. And we want to show you the results of that right now.
Jason, go ahead and relax. Remain still. The test will begin in a moment. The test is beginning. Are you now in the state of Colorado?
Yes.
Regarding your extraterrestrial experiences, do you intend to answer my questions truthfully today?
Yes.
Have you ever said anything in anger that you later regretted?
No.
Were you ever a member of a secret space program?
Yes.
Did you ever engage in military service on the planet Mars?
Yes.
Have you ever told a lie to keep yourself out of trouble?
No.
Were you ever a member of a secret space program?
Yes.
Did you ever engage in military service on the planet Mars?
Yes.
Have you ever told a lie to keep yourself out of trouble?
No.
During your entire life, have you ever broken even one law?
No.
Have you ever killed an extraterrestrial being?
Yes.
Have you ever been captured by an extraterrestrial being?
Yes.
During your entire life, have you ever violated any rules or regulations?
No.
Have you ever been captured by an extraterrestrial being?
Yes.
During your entire life, have you ever violated any rules or regulations?
No.
Okay, the test is ending. Please remain still. What you're looking on the test is changes in breathing patterns or upper body movement and activity. Down here a little bit more, you're looking for GSR changes or galvanic skin responses. Essentially, it's opening and closing of sweat glands in our fingertips. Just below that, what I'm looking for is changes in blood pressure, heart rate, etc. Below that, on the screen, what I'm looking at is PPG readings, which is photoplethysmograph readings. Essentially what that is the opening and closing or the constriction of blood vessels in your fingertips. Some of the other readings I have on there are, whether or not he moved or was trying to cheat the test in any way, and he wasn't. So what I'm looking at on screen right now is that for the directed lies that I asked him to tell, which were, have you ever broken any laws, stuff like that. He does have a physiological response that comes from that is indicative of somebody normally lying to us, and that physiological result that I've come to expect. When we see the other questions where he answers yes to being part of a secret space program or being on the planet Mars, there's not that typical physiological arousal that we would expect to see when somebody knows that they're lying. Again, anytime that there is an extraordinary story that is so far out of what is normal and out of what I know as a human being, and from my experience, of course there's some doubt that creeps into my mind. Having said that, Jason seems like a very credible source. He's well-spoken. He came in here. He seems to know exactly what he feels happens, when it happened. All the polygraph can really tell us is whether or not somebody believes what they're saying is true. Physiological indicators indicate that he does not have an arousal of, any sort of biological indicators that tell me that he disbelieves his story, even in the slightest. So in that case, what I'm saying is that ultimately Jason believes what he's telling us to be true.
So the guy conducting the polygraph kept asking you like the same questions over and over and over. I'm sure it was driving you crazy. But I think they were doing that because they were trying to elicit different emotional responses from you to see and guarantee that you were being credible, I think, don't you?
Yes. The direct lie stimulation test, from what it was explained to me, was that they try and create a baseline for lying as well as for telling the truth.
So the question about have you ever broken a rule, that was like a preconceived lie? That's
correct.
So that every time you lied, you would see a response. So that could be matched against the other responses where you were telling the truth.
That's correct.
Interesting. So what we had you do was take
Very
a polygraph test from a polygraph examiner. And we want to show you the results of that right now.
Jason, go ahead and relax, remain still. The test will begin in a moment.
We want to borrow your consciousness. This is what they said. This was a short reptilian, spoke to me telepathically. He had a sense of humor. I could understand him as if it was English.
They always say that these reptilians, most of them be having a fucking sense of humor. I know, I heard a couple of stories about that before, for real.
It was the equivalent of 25 years or so in his own age, in his whatever world he was from. He explained it to me that he had a wife and kid. He went home to his planet every day after working there in that base. And he said, we need your consent because we want to borrow your consciousness to help us out and do some work.
Yep.
And I said, what? So what do you mean? For how long? He said 20 years. And I said, no, I can't do that. My mom and dad, I'm going to miss out on my sister. My sister will grow up. I won't even know her. My mom and dad will miss me. I can't do that. He said, no. Listen, we have time travel. We're going to put you back exactly the same. This is a blessing to you. He's like, you are lucky to be chosen for this. You're special. So I said, yes. Immediately they put me back on the table. They strapped me down and did a surgery. There was a needle that went into my tested to see which one was my dominant eye. There was an eyeball test, and they got my dominant eye and they put a needle syringe like in the tear duct. Bam. And I felt like I saw stars, like getting punched. If you ever, the guys know what I'm talking about. Hopefully the girls listening don't know what I'm talking about.
We get your bell rung. Yeah.
God bless. But if you get hit really hard, you see stars. And it was like that. It was that experience. It was like I got punched.
Wow.
I had no memory of my mom or dad or what had just happened. I had complete amnesia, as if I were a blank clone. Like they took me out and put me into a clone. And I woke up back in my 10-year-old body on the moon, in a base on the backside of the moon, with a bunch of ETs on a table again. And I had no memory of the 20 years of on series, but I had the memories of my mom and dad and my sister back again. I went back to having all those memories. Do you get what I'm saying? It was like being taken out into a different body, lived 20 years. And then at the end, it was like they put me back and I had the original memory back.
Yes.
So that's what led me to theorize that cloning was what they did.
So
that's
much,
the only reason.
So much here, dude. Awesome, by the way.
Absolutely awesome. Okay. So whenever you're describing this, what I'm thinking is kind of the Avatar model, right? Let's say that, you know, the movie Avatar, whatever, they change their consciousness into a bigger vehicle or avatar. Now, this ties into what the reports of like the Greys, they've been reported as calling us vessels. And so maybe everything's a damn vessel, man. Maybe all of this is just like vehicles that you could just hop in, take the wheel over and drive. The NPC conversation we could probably put to the side, but I think that it ties in here if you go into the simulation theory and like personnel and all that.
This is crazy
kind of stuff. But what's interesting about this is if you think about that cloning is this way, and you could be anything, you know what I mean? They could have put you in a Grey's body, right? They could have put you in a Reptilian's body.
So at some point it did, because I do remember.
What's something people don't know about the vastness of space? It's not just stars and planets, it's a playground for the HUSTLEMAN 3.0. Our hero, the HUSTLEMAN 3.0, jumps into his sleek skyjet from the hit movie Valerian. His mission? To unlock a classified content that will guide him to the farthest reaches of our solar system. Through asteroid belts, past mysterious moons and into the unknown depths, every twist and turn, every high-speed chase pushes the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 further into uncharted territory. He's not just exploring, he's on a quest for the ultimate treasure trove of secrets, and he needs your help to keep going. Like, comment and subscribe to join the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 on this epic journey. Together, we'll boldly go where no man has gone before. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. The best is yet to come.
I was pulled into a military program when I was between the ages of 6 and 7 years old. I was identified as an intuitive empath who had the ability to feel the feelings and emotions of others and to also have intuition about what is about to occur. I was trained over many years, and at the age of 13, I was brought in for a big test. In the middle of the night, we boarded these small shuttle-type craft. With me were a couple of delegates and 2 other intuitive empaths. We were used in groups of 3 to triangulate, looking for deception or danger in meetings. This small shuttlecraft flew towards Saturn, and Saturn started to get larger and larger in our viewfinder. Saturn looking about the size of a $50, there was a dark region. It was a temporal distortion where there was no space and time. Immediately, everything was black, except for in front of us, a long, skinny structure. And as we got closer, we began to see a large, rounded area of a space station. As our shuttle got closer and closer, it became apparent how enormous it was. We docked and began to walk through these long, tall, skinny corridors.
Wow.
We found ourselves in a huge arena, and all around us were beings of all different types that were obviously much, much more advanced than us. We had been briefed that this was some sort of a grand meeting of over 60 different genetic farmer ET groups that have been manicuring humanity for a long time. We were handed a smart glass pad, and you use a mental component to activate it. All information that you would ever want is at your fingertips, literally.
Wow.
We began to see more and more information on these smart glass pads about 22 genetic programs that have been going on Earth to develop humanity and to help us get to a point to ascend to our higher consciousness level.
Wow.
We were finding out that eventually...
Yo, I would actually love the fuck out of having that little device in my hand to be able to ask certain questions that we never knew the answers to. That's crazy.
These 60 groups would no longer control the genetic experiment on Earth, and that humanity itself would take over. And that was part of the reason why humanity had a delegation there at this meeting. It was a very new thing.
Draconian.
Oh, Draconian is another reptoid species, but they tend to look more like a crocodile or an alligator. So they got a long snout, dark green skin. Some of the higher echelons can have wings, can be wings.
So basically, the Draconians don't look like the reptoids that was in the movie V. because they got the shorter snouts because they had the fake human skin on and they was eating the whole rat with one gulp. So we know the difference now.
Some of them can be very tall. As a species, they tend to be the a-holes of the galaxy and very aggressive. Their main tactic and strategy is fear, and so they love to make people feel like they're super strong, super terrifying. Oh, they're so powerful, we can't possibly beat them, but they bleed like everything else. And so once we started to understand that their main tactic was to make us feel intimidated, we became less intimidated. So they're not so much of an issue. I mean, they're militarily challenging, but we have certainly met them in the field of battle and won. So.
These indigenous reptoids, what was the language like?
Well, I think the most important distinction is they have a different tongue and a different palate. So the sounds that we make, we may not think about it, are very unique to our tongue and our palate. They're sounds that are biologically distinctive to what the physiology of our mouth and our tongue and our lips can do. So in the same way, the sounds that they make for their language really are dependent on that biological relationship, again, between, mouth, teeth, tongue, palate, and so forth. I would say a lot of their language involves sort of guttural sounds, some kind of hissing sounds, as well as clicks. It's important to note that if I were to say anything in their language, even though you wouldn't hear it, I would be saying it with a Terran accent because I can't actually make the exact sounds because I don't have the same tongue and the same palate. But their name for the planet is not Mars. We call it Mars. They call it Galuka.
Wow.
Wow.
Very deep.
Yeah, and again, to be honest, I'm saying that very badly. So if an indigenous reptoid were here saying that, if heard me say that, he'd look at me sideways and go, because they hate it when we mispronounce their words.
Did you talk and communicate a lot with them using vocal?
They mostly spoke in English, to be honest with you, again, with an accent because of the tongue and the palate, and their English was actually pretty good. And I learned a few words, but we were not encouraged to speak their language because they're very picky about pronunciation.
Draconian.
I want to talk about something that's very difficult to digest, and it's something that's happening to people, clients of mine, but it's really hard to process this as being truth. So I'm just going to share it, and for those that have experienced this, for those that have the same questions that my clients would have, this video is for you. So I want to talk about abductions, but not from aliens, from something else. And the program is known as like the Secret Space Program or the 20 and Back Program. And this is where, if you're not familiar with it, there's a lot of stories of people remembering all 20 years of leaving and coming back. So imagine right now, in this point in time, this moment, you exit your lifetime, this lifeline, the linear timeline. You go somewhere, you work, sometimes as a slave, sometimes as a contractor, sometimes as something else. And then when your time is up, you come right back to the moment you left it at. Now imagine this happens to you, and the way your brain processes everything, because it's a three-dimensional operating system, not a multi-dimensional, or not a multiverse level system like the soul is. And I'm doing it here at the gym because the music can override what I'm saying. So imagine these things happen to you. How your brain is going to process it is going to be great or mass confusion and overwhelm. And so what the mind is going to do, typically, is shut it down. Like, store that shit away in really deep Pandora's box, really deep in the basement of our filing system, our archive system. But what I'm doing is going through with clients, and we're going back to these moments where they know something happened, but it's hard blocked from them. And we're going in from the moment, the last moment they have in their memory bank, to the first moment they have after. And sometimes it's like 8 hours, sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 8 minutes. I don't see a pattern yet because I haven't worked with thousands of people yet. I've only got about a small sample. So what we're doing now is we're trying to go down into these micro moments, and although we cannot travel with them like I can with alien abductions, what we can do is ask questions before they finish the exit with your essence, your consciousness, your soul. We can ask the questions, and sometimes they'll give us some answers, and sometimes they have fear themselves of sharing the information. So if this sounds like something you've experienced, please reach out to me. I know I'm going to be handling a lot more of these cases, and I want you to know that I am here and I can walk you through this.
That's
Hi, Tony.
crazy.
Hey, Jay.
So let's start at the beginning. Where were you living when all of this started?
I grew up on a farm. We had a 13-acre farmhouse that was the 100-year-old house in southern Michigan, on the southern side of Ypsilanti, Michigan, Ann Arbor. I went to an old brick elementary school and had a normal childhood for the most part. I was 9 years
Crazy.
old when, I guess, when I started.
Well, that's pretty young. Why would they take a 9-year-old?
Yeah, break that
What happened
down.
was, it was fourth grade for me. In the third grade, I tested really well on some aptitude tests. So the school had coincidentally just been funded that year for a new program, the Talented and Gifted program, TAG for short.
Yes, I know this program.
Always one
And
of
so
them
I guess it still
programs, y'all. I
exists.
told
Yes, it
y'all.
does. In my third grade, they told all the teachers to be on the lookout for kids that were smart, and so it was the top 5% of the school. And I ended up in there in fourth grade. They sent news to my parents, and we met like every Wednesday, 9 a.m. in the library. And what the class was advanced learning, how to research things. There was no internet back then, so it was teaching us how to think for ourselves, be creative, and do your own research. So that was the class. So for me, I was the youngest of 5 children, and I could hang my hat. That was the thing that, you know, the youngest kid really isn't the oldest or fastest or the prettiest, whatever. So for me, it was like I was smart, and I was proud of that. And when I went to that class, I met kids that were smarter than me, and it hurt.
Right.
And one of them was a kid who was ridiculously, he's tested something like 200 IQ. He spoke like an adult, and he told the teacher how to run the class. I was resentful that I wasn't the smartest kid. I was the smartest kid at home, and that was where I hung my hat. So here comes this kid that was amazingly smart and mature to boot, but a little off. And so we didn't get along, and I picked on him. We were rivals, and I was mean to him. Teacher would give us an assignment. We'd sit at the couch in the library, get books and research. And one day, we're sitting there, and he says, my dad's an Illuminati. What's your dad do? And he said it really condescending, like, my dad's an Illuminati. What's your dad do? And I didn't know what that was. So my dad works for General Motors. My dad's got an awesome job.
Right.
And, I didn't think anything of it, but that stood out because the way his behavior was just so far away from any other behavior of anybody I'd ever met to that point.
So he was really eccentric.
Very. Oh, yeah. His dad was in town negotiating a contract between 2 corporations that were headquartered in the area.
What year was this where you went into the school?
It was the school year of 81 to 82. So his dad came later that year. I believe it was in April, but that's a guess. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he was the judge for the science fair. And what our teacher for that class, and I won't mention her name, but she said he was the most educated man she'd ever heard of. He had more PhDs than she thought was possible. So he was a perfect judge for the science fair for our 4th grade class. And we set up our exhibit in the cafeteria. I walked by him and his dad, and he says, in earshot of me as I walked by him, he says, "Dad, that's that boy I told you about that ruined my confidence." Whoa. And then they had a weird conversation. They used weird words. He said,
"Oh shit,
maybe we'll send him to one of our projects." But I didn't think anything of it. I just went on about my day. I was a pretty cocky kid at the time.
Sure.
Back then, I think if I would have never been interrupted with any of this, I would be a completely different person.
Probably.
I'm really not the most self-confident person anymore. So he said, "We'll do that." And he said to his dad, he doesn't deserve any of that. He said something like, back to him, he said, "You're going to have to learn how to manage your assets better." Or something. He said something like that. Right. I went on about my day, and it was that night.
Well, this was a lesson to his kid.
Yeah.
About how to be tough.
Maybe. And a lesson to me as well.
Yeah.
For how to not be so arrogant, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
And it worked.
It worked. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Jay.
So let's start at the beginning. Where were you living when all of this started?
I grew up on a...
They bring people in to the military, send them through training, testing, find out where their skills lean, and if they have the fortitude for this type of mission, and then they're invited in or drafted in, and they'll serve a 20-year term.
20 and back.
This is referred to as a 20 and back. And after that 20 years, they're actually age regressed and regressed back in time using the technology that was handed to us by non-terrestrials. And then they were buttoned up in time and placed back in their life. And then they finish out the rest of their military term and then return to civilian life, having no memory of serving in the secret space program. The whole point of regressing people back in time after serving in the 20 and back and wiping their memory has to do with a deal that was made with an extraterrestrial group that gave us that technology. There's a Nordic group that are engaged in a time and space battle with a reptilian group. This battle's gone on for many thousands of years.
When delving into this research, some people formulate ideas that there's only good extraterrestrials here or there's only bad extraterrestrials here.
They bring people in to the military.
In 2007, a British amateur astronomer named John Leonard Walson started using a new technique to film the night sky. By attaching special equipment to his telescope, he records objects in visible, infrared, and ultraviolet spectrums. He then takes the clearest frame from each band and combines them. This process is called luminance layering. Walson first used the technique to view the space shuttle and the International Space Station, and experts confirmed that his technique works. But things got really weird when he started recording videos of stars in the sky. Walson discovered that many of the stars are not stars at all. They're in fact massive, highly reflective space platforms, exactly the type that Solar Warden uses. Some platforms have solar panels, others have what looks like weapons attached to the structures. He said some of the objects look like spaceships from Star Trek that might be used by the Federation or Klingons.
Oh, what do toilet paper and Captain Kirk have in common?
Please don't.
They both fly past Uranus and wipe out the Klingons.
Is down there.
Giant monsters.
And who are they and why are they here?
They're a natural defense mechanism from the planet. They've been here longer than any of us have, or since before the dinosaurs even. These are creatures that go back millions of years potentially and have been living there for a very, very long time. My personal encounter with them is they're highly intelligent, and I guarantee you a living creature that's 200 or 300 feet tall, that's, several 100,000 or 1 million years old, has a consciousness that probably defies understanding from me or you anyway.
How long have they been here?
Millions of years. Probably even maybe since the beginning of the planet.
Could you give me an example of what one of these giants look like?
Sure. I've only had one personal experience that I can relate. While I have been briefed on the subject and I could describe a few other things, I only have one personal experience that I was there for, saw with my own eyes, and experienced with my own 5 senses. So if you want to imagine something that resembles a big furry primate, maybe like a sloth that walks on its hands and is covered with hair that looks like giant dreadlocks.
How tall do you think, could you estimate?
I would estimate that it was probably between 250 and 300 feet tall.
How do they grow to such an extreme size, and why aren't we not seeing them on the surface?
Well, I think we're talking about pre-primordial time, so we're talking about before the dinosaurs, when plants and animals were even larger. So I think we're just talking about they came from a time when biological life grew bigger.
Is down there.
Giant monsters.
And who are they and why are they here?
They're a natural...
That's crazy.
I didn't realize actually
that you
Wow.
were, in some cases, working on these autopsies with people who were not of Earth origin. So could you start to lay out for us under what circumstances you might have someone in the OR with you who is a completely separate type of person than what we're used to here on Earth?
So these projects could have up to 3 teams of 15 scientists and physicians and technicians working on just one being and one craft.
Really?
And some of those scientists and physicians are on Earth origin, which are extraterrestrials, which have volunteered either after being captured or volunteered through the system, through the compartmentalized program, to work to actually help us, because they kind of actually feel bad sometimes, even after we capture them and beat the heck out of them and do horrible things to them. They actually turn around and willingly want to help us and stay with us and teach them about their own physiological phenotypes, about their own race.
Could you give us some examples now? What kind of being might you actually see as a coworker in the operating room with you?
Some of the first ones I want to go over are like the beings that are monkey-like. And their pelvises are not spread out like a monkey, by the way. They all stand very erect like we do, but they have the formation of, you know, a monkey's look with longer hair, and the face is more pronounced like a human without a snout. And
so it's not necessarily like Planet of the Apes, but there's still more of an ape-like appearance.
Very
than us?
ape-like appearance, but more human-like. And not that much fur on the face, by the way, just around it and around the body. And they speak very well. They have great vocal cords. They have a problem, though, with high-pitched sounds. So they have to wear special things in their ear when we work with them that actually tones down the sound of just our own voice. And of course, they pick up on different frequencies from electromagnetic fields and TVs and computers. There's these high-pitched sounds they give off that really distorts them and, you know, allows them to become actually ill if they don't have these protective ear plugs in. But the people that look like these monkeys and apes that stand very erect also do not have that thumb that sticks out like on a gorilla. It actually can actually grasp stuff. Their hands are also not large and bulky like you would see as an ape. It's actually thinner, longer fingers and a very broad palm with a great, you know, operating thumb.
Do we know where these ape-like people originated from? Did you get any briefings on their system or anything like that?
I believe these come from multiple systems, including Arcturus and Sirius and Spica, that area of space. And because the genetic lineage of DNA that I was reading in the library at the time did pinpoint a lot of these ape-like human beings from these systems, that they all have similar genetics from each system. So you might have one that's mixed with, you know, other ET systems, but all the DNA was the same. I mean, the same, meaning they had all the same ape DNA, whether it be 30% or 90%.
So what is their agenda here?
Yeah, there's obviously something going on behind the scenes that I'm not privy to know, but what I believe is that these beings that were either caught or captured or volunteered to come here working with either the government or the military or the cabal on different occasions for different projects are strictly humanitarian, and they don't have any agenda at all, and they could probably easily take out a lot of people if they really wanted to. But being next to one of these extraterrestrials, by the way, including the ant people and the mantis people, you have a really beautiful self-feeling being in their energy fields. And people have actually had miraculous healings by being on these craft and working on the craft and working just in the vicinity of an extraterrestrial.
How does that work?
I do not know how that works. I think it's electromagnetic of some frequency that allows the body, their body, that already generates a very, very high vibration. It actually brings our vibration up. So our cells are running at a specific voltage so our own cells can heal ourselves.
True. But there were a fair amount of women, kind of like what you would see on a naval vessel today. There's a lot of discipline on in an environment like that, as you would imagine. This is like top secret stuff that's like really important. But the few women that were on these vessels were very popular.
I bet. And I want to kind of go into the whole concept of genetic experiments. For people that sounds, they don't know what the hell it means. Can you just try to break it down and unpack what it means?
Yeah, I mean, the planet that we're on is a giant experiment in ascension. And what has occurred is that we've had ETs coming in over millennia that are slowly playing with our genetics to enhance our genetics to where we have, like a larger brain or the ability to speak, different things like that to cause us to evolve. And when they can only go so far tinkering with your physiology, they also have to affect your spirituality. So then they've brought in all these religions, come and walk amongst us, and we're like, oh, an angel or a god, and then impart information. That information affects our consciousness, causes it to expand or not expand, depending on what their agenda is. So these experiments are genetic. They come in and they tinker with our genes. They bring in genes from all over the universe that they've collected and splice them in to kind of get the results that they want. But they also tinker with our consciousness.
And who is the one that is deciding to keep it an even playing field? You said like they also bring in spirituality because they can only go so far one way. Who's governing that?
Well, there is a cosmic law with different layers of beings that manage different things. I mean, the blue avian beings were a part of this group that are basically guardians and of this entire galaxy. So they are on a higher plane. They're a higher density being, a higher consciousness being, and they found a way to transcend this physical experience. They come in and they manage things, but a lot of times what they're doing is they're karmically tied to us, because let's say the blue avians, they came back during ancient Egyptian times, delivered information that became a religion, it got perverted, and then that karmically entangled them with us. They cannot evolve anymore until we evolve. So they're karmically, a lot of these higher beings are karmically tied to us, and they're trying to keep other beings from coming in and tinkering with us in a way that's going to prevent them from having their agenda of ascending to higher levels.
And I remember reading about this karmic wheel that we get stuck in. Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Where we reincarnate and we're stuck in it?
Right. And a lot of us get really caught up in these different past lives. When I brought it up to the blue avians, Raw Tier Air, the blue avian that I interacted with, leaned in real close and said, we are one or we are not. And basically telling me not to get caught up in all of these past lives, because the distortions, the traumas that we have in this life will cause us to identify with being, Genghis Khan or whoever. But the fact is, we were all Genghis Khan. We were all Cleopatra. We were all the guy down the street. We are one. We are the same consciousness having many different experiences. It's like, someone dropped a coin in a video game and leaned back, and they're playing all the characters at the same time.
Right. That's why when you say I love you or I hate you, you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And Love One, Ra talked about that also, of like, don't get caught up in your past lives. And to me, that makes perfect sense. I'm talking to Corey Good. You guys can check out, I'm not done with you, Corey. I'm just going to plug all your stuff. Where can people find, if they're like, oh my God, I'm loving what he has to say, where can they get even more information right now?
Hey guys, we've been diving in, and this is getting realer than real. Straight up, the Super Soldiers program, you can't deny it. But now, you have to be smart and you have to do your own research. Because it's real. Hold on.
This is why you need to join the HUSTLEMAN 3.0. He's not just exploring space, he's unlocking its deepest secrets. Armed with his sleek skyjet from the hit movie Valerian, the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 is on a mission to uncover the truth of our solar system. Picture this, soaring through asteroid belts, skimming past mysterious moons, and diving into the unknown depths of space. It's not just about the journey, it's about the discoveries along the way. Every twist, every turn, every live show, upload, and short pushes the HUSTLEMAN 3.0 further into uncharted territory. And guess what? He needs your help to keep going. like, comment, and subscribe to join the Hustleman 3.0 on his epic journey. Together, we'll boldly go where no man has gone before. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. The best is yet to come.